So we want to talk a little bit more about the Waukesha Parade tragedy trial, the trial in which a jury came back and found Darrell Brooks guilty of 76 criminal charges for what he did that day, driving his red SUV into a group of holiday parade goers, killing 6 people, injuring dozens of others. We've been going through all different aspects of the case, and I thought it would be good to talk about where he went with his defense. And I'm going to compare 2 things here. A little bit of his opening statement and a little bit of his closing argument, because there was a consistent theme, and that theme seemed to be to evoke sympathy on the part of the jury. Let's take a look.
I think it's easy to look at the magnitude of something like this and form opinions. I think it's easy to disregard a lot of factors. And I think in reference to what I stated earlier, it's easy to forget the other side of the coin. There's been a lot of suffering involved in this incident, a lot. Obviously, with the families, with the community, and even the alleged defendant's family as well. There's been a lot of suffering. A lot of misunderstanding. And I just want you to keep in mind everything that will be presented in its totality. Keep in mind. The power that you have.
Reference was made to this vehicle, the damage. Says this was all caused by bodies, but then later turns around and says hits barricades and other objects. I've heard testimony about hearing loud crashes and things of that nature, but the DA wants you to believe that this all came from people. Evidence doesn't support that. So I go back to trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened in the last year. Praying for those families, praying for the people that tragically lost their life, because that should not be lost either. The fact that there was lives lost, and all the emphasis has been put on the alleged defendant. And the people have been disregarded. Makes me wonder, does the DA even care about those people? There's been prayers going up every day. It's been suffering on both sides. It's been threats, hate mail. Because of the narratives that's been put out there, the misconceptions that have been put out there, the lies that have been put out there, lies that have caused my children not to be able to go to school, to be bullied, for my mother to have to leave her home and stay at a hotel because she's afraid for her safety, because she gets hate mail shoved through her mailbox. My nieces and nephews to fear for their safety.
What was that about? I mean, really, was it just trying to have the jury feel bad for him? I mean, it was so curious for him to say that the DA must not care about these people because we're focusing more on the alleged defendant, not even him, the alleged defendant, and when he's the one who killed these people. So it just made me wonder what you thought the jury might be thinking of that and what you took away from that.
I'll tell you what I took away, and I suspect maybe the jury was on the same wavelength. You know, I have been guilty during this trial of, you know, being a little glib about the antics of this narcissistic nitwit. It has sometimes been entertaining. But at the core of this is a horrifying crime. There was a Christmas parade. Jingle Bell Rock was playing in the background, and this guy drove his SUV into this parade, striking dozens of people, running over people at full speed, killing 6 completely innocent people, including 4 people in or associated with a troupe called the Dancing Grannies, and an 8-year-old boy. He devastated that community. He killed people, he devastated that community, he nearly ruined Christmas. And then he came into this court and he tried to blow up the court with his nonsense, with his subject matter jurisdiction, with his lawful law, with his sovereign immunity, with his jury nullification. He tried to drive and swerve through the court and destroy that too. But the court held, and the town of Waukesha held, and those victims held. Everybody except the people he murdered survived his attack. And for him to return over and over to the effect on him, I feel bad for his kids. I feel bad that they're his kids. That's what I feel bad about. I would have feel bad about that no matter what the outcome for him. It doesn't move the needle on the punishment he deserves. This was a horrible crime, you know, but you can't break Christmas, and you can't break, thank God, you cannot break the United States judicial system.
I wish we could leave it there because that was just so well said about this. And I think that's a great point because his misunderstanding or misapplication of the law or whatever you want to call it, you know, it was interesting. I always wonder, we haven't had the opportunity to interview any of the jurors yet, but they had these 76 charges and these multiple counts. And I'm curious, you think the way that they went through it, do you think they went through it in blocks? Do you think they said, because they even found him guilty of the domestic violence related counts with respect to Erica Patterson. They believed that he attacked her. They believed everyone but him.
Right, I think they probably did it in blocks. We have 6 murder charges. They are all the same answer. We have 61 reckless endangerment charges. Those are all the same answer. And then we have the domestic abuse. I think there were some evidence charges, but there were 76.
And the bail jumping, felony bail.
Right, but they could break them down into 4 or 5 categories, and he didn't have a defense on any of them, right? He didn't testify. He didn't put in any meaningful evidence. He never gave gave a cohesive story. So I think the jury had to break those down, but at the end of the day, there was nothing to prevent them from entering guilty to each and every one, except for having to write it down 76 times.
I would have been very curious if he would have taken the stand and what he would have testified to, and also subject himself to cross-examination. Not saying he would have done it, but it would have been something remarkable to see. But as we know, he forfeited his right by not answering the court.